हेलो एंड वेलकम, मैं हूं गीतांजलि और आप देख रहे हैं ICAI प्रेजेंट्स स्टार्टअप्स फेयर 2024। चाहे आप एक एंटरप्रेन्योर हो, स्टार्टअप हो या फिर एक एस्टैब्लिश्ड बिजनेस ओनर, आपके बिजनेस की सफलता निर्भर करती है इनोवेटिव फंडिंग स्ट्रैटेजीज पर। बिजनेस की शुरुआत करने और उसे चलाने के लिए जिस कैपिटल की ज़रूरत होती है उसे फंडिंग कहते हैं। बिजनेस को एक्सपैंड करने के लिए या अपने ऑपरेशंस को बढ़ाने के लिए फंड रेज करना आम बात है, पर कई ओनर्स शुरुआती दौर में अपने स्टार्टअप में खुद इन्वेस्ट करना पसंद करते हैं, जिसे इक्विटी डाइल्यूट ना करनी पड़े, जिसे बूटस्ट्रैपिंग कहते हैं। हालांकि ज़्यादातर स्टार्टअप फंडिंग रेज करते हैं। बिजनेस की शुरुआत में लिए गए कैपिटल को सीड कैपिटल कहा जाता है। फंडिंग की इस मास्टर क्लास के लिए आज हमारे साथ जुड़ गए हैं CS सौरभ गोयनका, हु इज द co-founder and CEO MindMap Digital. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So, sir, my first question to you is that how did you identify the best funding sources for your startup?
To be honest with you, my startup is actually bootstrapped. But today, in the evolving funding scenario, there are many unique ways in which you can get funding. Earlier, you used to either bootstrap or go to a VC. But today, you've got a lot of examples where you can do angel investment, and there's a lot of crowdfunding startups which have come in place. So my advice to young startups is, depending on your size and the type of business you are in, there are many groups today which will both advise you if the way you want to raise funds is appropriate for you and help you in raising funds. And there are many different channels of doing that.
So, can you share your experience or suggestions about the alternative funding methods like crowdfunding or grants?
Sure. So, what's really important in this aspect is if a startup wants to raise money, in today's scenario, you need to have your fundamentals right. We've seen a whole era of cash burn in various startups where startups have raised a bunch of money, and then some of those startups, we are seeing some big names going down the drain. So what's important is you need to have your fundamentals right, and then you get your due diligence done by a reputed firm. Once your due diligence is done, and you've defined what kind of funding do you need, and then you can approach some of these events. And in fact, the government of India is also supporting startups in a major way. You can apply under that scheme. And there are channels like you have India Accelerators, you have Inflection Point Ventures, and you have these, I would call them, micro-cap funding providers. You can always go to them, and it's a very simple process. Just go to them, and everybody has a reach out channel. Tell them that you want to raise money. They will do their own due diligence for you, and depending on that, sometimes they even advise you that maybe you need a third co-founder in your business, or your go-to-market needs to be figured out. And then based on a various different combination of how much money are you raising and what do you need that money for, each of these channels may work out.
So what are the advantages and disadvantages of different funding options you explored while launching your startup?
See, as I said, we are bootstrapped, yeah, but if you look at, there are three main ways in which people should go about it. One, if you don't need a lot of money, you can actually take investments from HNIs. And these HNIs should be strategic investors for you. So, there's a saying in the startup world that be careful where you raise your funds from. So it's important that whoever you're raising your money from, that person is strategically invested into your business, right? So let's say there is somebody who's sold a couple of IT businesses in the past. He would be an appropriate investor if you're starting an IT consulting firm. Or if you're looking for creating your own platform, a SaaS-based product, there are specialist accelerators and incubators. You should actually go to raise funds from them. And the third channel, of course, is via these aggregators, which I spoke about. They cater to a bunch of different types of startups, right? Now, the advantage of going with a strategic investor is that that investor will not just give you the money, but they're also going to give you the time, the guidance, and the approach to the market. So it also depends on what you need as a startup. Are you just looking for funds? If you are just looking for funds, there are various ways of going about it. You can, I would say, why even equity? If you've got a good business model, raise debt, right? But if you look for funds as well as market penetration and partner, then you need to be very careful who you're taking the money from, and that person needs to believe in the business as much as you do.
So how do you maintain control of your company while raising external funds?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, I'm a chartered accountant, and ever since I have entered the world of business, for me, fundamentals is very, very important. So be very careful of your fundamental business ratios. How much working capital are you needing? What's your cash burn rate? where are you investing money, what is the return on that investment. If you're able to track very carefully how much money are you putting in, where is that money being used, and what is the return on that money, and your runway and your revenue forecast needs to be predicted very accurately. One of the biggest challenges today, which I've personally seen, because I also invest in a few startups, one of the biggest challenges is people go wrong with respect to projecting their revenues. So when people raise money, they project that, hey, you know, with this money, I'm going to make, say, X amount of revenue in Y amount of months. And that goes wrong. That's not right. So if you are careful about your projections, if you're careful about your burn rate, if you're careful about your basic financial ratios, you know, that's enough. And then with that sorted and fixed, you will be able to be in control of the money you're raising, and you will also be able to get money very easily.
So can you discuss a time when a non-traditional funding source significantly helped your business?
Sure. So I'll give you this example where we were trying to do this partnership with this HNI investor. This HNI investor had been overseas for, you know, and sold a couple of businesses and came back here. And we did not really want to raise a big round using VC or PE because, you know, my organization is pretty well sustaining. And that source really helped us in raising a small amount of money, which with that round we haven't closed yet, but we are planning to close that round pretty soon. And if we do that, it exposes us to a very niche market. So this investor who I'm talking about has been in the Middle East for quite some time. So his connects in the Middle East, as we are expanding our business into the Middle East, is going to be of significant benefit and advantage to our business and for this investor as well, who gets a new portfolio business in the Middle East.
So how do you build and maintain relationships with your investors?
Transparency is very important. One of the things which I advise to everyone out there is, you guys, please be transparent about your business. Do not overproject. And ultimately, I feel investors invest in the business as much as they invest in the people, right? So if you come across as somebody who can be trusted, if you have your head on your shoulders, and if you're transparent with your investor, I think that is key. That's number one. Second very important thing is, see, your investor has invested in your business and he expects a certain degree of confidence. So for an investor, numbers are important. So make sure you hit your numbers, whether they are your top line, your bottom line, your cost of delivery, or whatever parameters, number of users, you know, all of these metrics, they need to be very, very well met. And end of the day, your relationship with the investor is also a human relationship. And like every human relationship, you need to have a degree of trust involved in it. That's really important.
So what role do strategic partnerships play in your funding strategy?
See, strategic partnerships are very, very important because they, you know, in any business, if you're running that business, you have your own inside view of the business. That's not enough. You need to see how the external world is perceiving your business. What is the external view? Strategic partners bridge that gap. They give you the right amount of outside view into your business to tell you what is it that the outside world is actually thinking about you. How is the market perceiving you? And sometimes, you know, as a startup founder, you know, I'm always very proud of my team, but I may not be able to see what's going wrong sometimes. And that's when the strategic partner would come in and tell us that, you know, that's where you're going wrong. And again, you know, strategic partners are of different types. Some strategic partner can give you access to markets. Some strategic partner gives you access to technology. Some strategic partner gives you access to funds. So depending on what their purpose is in your business, it's a good marriage if, you know, that basically goes a long way. And, you know, again, transparency again with a strategic partner is also very important. And I feel, you know, I've also seen this in my business that there are some strategic partners who always work out for you and they really help you in the trajectory of your business.
Well, finally, what advice would you give to startups exploring innovative funding options?
See, I will summarize my advice in, I think, 3 major points. One, I think, be realistic with how much money you're raising and what use you'll put it to, and do not overproject. That kills most of the funding rounds. Second, you have to be very transparent. Not just when you're raising funds, but when you're putting that funds to use. No matter which platform you're raising this money from, if you're going to an HNI or a VC, or you're raising it from, you know, an angel crowdfunded network, it's very important for you yourself as a startup founder to have proactive meetings with your investor groups, to tell them that, look, this is the trajectory of my business. When I raise money, here's my projection, here's where I am right now. third very important piece of advice is that look at your investors as your partners. They always like to help you out. For example, there are a few startups I have invested in. For some of them, I gave them access to markets, right? And while that was not really an explicit assumption from the investor side, or the investor is not really responsible for doing that, but you will always find people who will help you in taking that a long way. And finally, just be very clean with your books, get your due diligence done very cleanly and nicely, and have a very clear vision of what you're going to do with the funds. And then I think there are enough avenues. Even right now, it's not a great time to raise money. It's a little bit of a funding winter going on. But I've personally seen businesses which are in the technology space, businesses which are focused towards AI, focused towards transformation, with real business value and good fundamentals and a good founding team. They're always able to get money in whatever scenario.
Well, now it's time for a short break, but you don't go away. We'll be back soon. Welcome back once again. You're watching ICAI Presents Startup Sphere 2024. And now let's continue our discussion with CA Saurabh Goenka. So why don't you tell us more about MindMap Digital?
Sure. So let me give you a whole journey of MindMap, and I will also try to contextualize that to our discussion around the whole funding piece, right? So MindMap, as a group of organizations, we are about 10 years old now. We run various different businesses. There are 3 founders in MindMap. Apart from me, there are 2 more people, and all 3 of us are chartered accountants. What's unique about MindMap is that we are actually a transformation consulting firm run by chartered accountants, and we've done a lot of work in the finance transformation space, right? So our businesses are mostly focused around 3 verticals. So what we do as an organization, we are very clear that any organization who wants to transform themselves with technology or the process, we can help them in various different ways. And there are 3 different ways in which we do that, right? First way is we consult them. Organizations who want to adopt AI or automation, but they do not know how to do it, or what will it mean for them. What we do is we put them onto that roadmap. We conduct these discovery sessions with them. We consult them and tell them that, look, if you implement some of these technologies, here is the money you will save year on year, or here is the uptick in revenue which you will get, or here is the big customer satisfaction problem which you'll be able to solve. That's the consulting part of it. Now, once we've told them that you should do this, there are various different ways in which you can enable them. One way is if they already have a bunch of people who are doing their IT transformation internally, we can train those people to be able to do more. So we've got a very unique training function. So we engage with organizations in training their own people to run their own transformation projects. And we've done this with multiple Fortune 500 companies and a lot of people in the MSME space as well. That's one way. The second way in which we do it is we can give you short-term contractual resources who can run these transformation projects for you for some time. And then those people come back to us. That's called a staff augmentation kind of a model, right? So let's say I've identified that somebody can implement generative AI-based chatbots to improve customer service. Now, these projects are not very long. You can build this whole engine out in about 3 to 4 months. So we can give them a bunch of engineers for about 3 to 4 months. And we implement that transformation and we bring our resources back. The third model is where we become their technology partners and we implement the technology and maintain the technology for a long term. So that's where that organization doesn't want to maintain their own technology innovation function or transformation function, and they outsource that entire function to us, right? Now, interestingly, when we were building this business, we actually started off purely as a training firm, where the market gap we noticed is, people specifically on the process side. So there are technology firms and there are process consultants, but there's no marriage of them. There are very few very, very good techno-functional consultants which are available in the market and the industry. So we wanted to create that pool, right? And we created a bunch of techno-functional consultants by running these training programs for our clients. And while we were doing that, our clients told us that you guys are great consultants. So why don't you start doing consulting yourself? That's how we got into consulting, and that's how we got into the whole services space. So now MindMap is actually building a bunch of AI products and platforms because we've been working a lot with both MSME as well as the corporate sector. And we've realized that while our services can solve a lot of problems, platforms can solve problems in a better and a more sustainable way, right? And so we are building a bunch of platforms around business automation, an AI-based interviewing tool. So this interview which we're having here right now, right? For example, we can do this via AI, and it's very, very fancy. So you'll probably see that coming out in about a couple of months' time. So we're doing some of those things, and so MindMap as an organization, again, our business fundamentals has been that we want to run this business as a profitable business, and the profits of the business has been able to fuel the business growth. So we haven't really had to raise a lot of external money. We've raised some external money, but that's also an advice I want to give to all the startups, right? While you should raise money, but in your mindset, you need to see when are you going to become self-sustaining, right? Your money is for your growth. You have a growth phase, but you use that money for your growth. But is there a projection in your timeline where you can self-sustain yourself and your business? And we've actually done that all this while, and for us, the traditional way of business has worked out so well so far. But now that we go into the whole product side of the house, we are being approached by a bunch of investors who want to collaborate with us, partner with us, and probably we'll pick one or two of them.
तो सर अब सस्टेनेबिलिटी के बारे में मैं आपसे बात करना चाहूँगी. So sir, what are your views on sustainability?
I must thank you for asking me that question, and it's something which is very close to my heart. I think while the human species is progressing forward, we've left nature behind, and we are seeing that those ramifications all across with the eruptions, the earthquakes, and so much happening. Now, all of us today, what's different about us today versus us about 200 years back is that we've now seen the impact of some of our unsustainable actions which we've taken. So every organization must create a mandate and a charter. How can I improve my energy efficiency? How can I contribute to some of the big socioeconomic needs which are out there? Can I do something as simple as stop using plastic bottles in my office, right? Can I use more recycling? Can I ensure, my IT waste or my e-waste is recycled in the right way? It's really important. And while there are standards being created now to measure things like the carbon credit and some of the other things, I think regulations-wise, this needs to be enforced in a much more stringent way. Governments need to do this work much more effectively. And I think, platforms like yours, you guys should do some more work on it in spreading that awareness. And I think everybody understands that something needs to be done, but people are either too caught up in the rat race to give their time or mind to it, but it doesn't work like that. I think as a species and as an age group of people of my age, it's my appeal to all of you that, please do something. You can start small with your organization, eliminate paper if you can, recycle your e-waste, measure your energy emissions and carbon emissions and take care of it. Use carpools. City like Bangalore, please, I know you love your own, big cars and you want to travel in them, but please use carpools. And I think what we'll reach there, I'm not pessimistic though. I think we are becoming more aware of the whole thing, and it's very important, right? The sustainability aspect of it should be a key pillar of any business.
So what are your thoughts on the achievements of Sustainable Development Goals, and how important is it for your company, and how are you working towards it?
See, we do a lot of CSR programs. We work with, since we are into the whole, our expertise lies in training. So we've actually gone to a lot of tier 2, tier 3 cities, and we've trained thousands and thousands of students for free, and we've gotten them jobs, right? That's one on the contribution side. But we have a very strong ESG framework which we follow at our organization, and we have corporate social responsibility. And we run a lot of programs where we clean up parks sometimes, and we do some of these things. So we are doing things in our own way. We're also affiliated to, we did a project with a Miami-based project management institute. They wanted us to do some work in India for them, for some sustainability pieces. So we're doing all these things. But I think what the next thing which we're going to do is we're going to make it a part of the KPIs and KRAs of our employees as well to some extent, where every employee needs to mandatorily submit a report on what they have done for the society and what have they done from a sustainability standpoint. And because I think that change is both top down as well as bottoms up.
So do you follow sustainable practices in your personal life as well? and what actions do you take that you think make a difference?
Yeah, I try a lot. So fortunately, the government of India has also helped a lot. So I travel a lot. I travel for almost like, I think this year itself I've gone to 7 countries, and last year I was out of India for almost half of the year. I don't print anything. So why I say the government of India has helped because of the Digi Yatra and all of those things. So I don't print things, and I like to. So I came here. There were plastic bottles for water, and then there was a canister with styrofoam glasses. So I use those. I don't like drinking water from plastic bottles, and I think it's about mindset. I don't think I do enough. I should do much more, but I try to do what I can. But yeah, I should do much more.
Well, with that, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
The compliance is not going away. Governments are not going to let businesses do whatever they want. Laws will be there. Forms will have to be filed. There will be humans who are required to put their skin in the game and then sign. And this arbitrariness is not going away. Nothing is going to be static. So confusion will create opportunity.